assert my firm belief
What if
that the only thing we have to fear is
we looked at things
fear itself.
differently?
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Differently. Differently? Differently. Hello, and welcome to That's Life. I'm Heather, and we're just going to dive right into today's topic, which is social avoidance. It's a big one, and it's happening. It's happening, people. It's happening every single day, and I think you know what I'm talking about. But if not, let me just quickly describe social avoidance for you. So it is purposely, intentionally, and very happily avoiding interactions with other human beings. Maybe it's people you know, maybe it's complete strangers. I don't know. So today's topic is really, we want to do a couple of things here. One, hopefully by the end of the podcast, you'll figure out where you really are on this spectrum of avoidance. And two, want to offer a different perspective on maybe how to avoid social avoidance. See what I did there? So let's kick it off with a short quiz. All right. When you're walking down the street and someone is walking towards you, do you, A, make eye contact and say hello or some other sort of greeting? B, make eye contact only to exchange the nonverbal dialogue about which side they're going to walk on, so you avoid any sort of collision? Or C, pretend you're talking on the phone to someone else so you can avoid the whole thing altogether? Okay, so I can say that I actually do or have done all three of those things before. But more and more, I'm doing A, which was making eye contact and actually saying something to the people. And I just want to quickly share with you that my experience with this has been really delightful and refreshing. So just earlier today, this morning, I was out walking my dog and, come into contact with a few different people, strangers walking towards me, and everybody has, kind of that like tunnel vision and the blank stare, or, we all are bringing into the day whatever baggage we have, good and bad. And so I can tell you that the relief that I see on people's faces whenever I say, hi, good morning, or whatever, right away, it just changes their day. You just see it. You see it on their face. They smile and they're kind of taken off guard, right? Because as a society, we have come to not exchange those sort of pleasantries with strangers. And so as soon as they see, oh, hey, yeah, she's talking to me. Oh, right. Hi. Hello. Good morning. There's a smile and there's this difference in their eyes that happens. So, and it's a really good feeling for me. I have to say so myself too, because seeing their faces light up makes me feel happier too. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you. And look, I get it. We all enjoy our own personal space. We all have so much going on in our worlds that sometimes we just plain and simple don't feel like talking to another person. That's understandable. And if that's your situation, or if you're like, I'm just not a social being, or, I don't quote unquote do strangers, I don't know. I can appreciate that too. But where I'm going to ask you to think differently here is to think about the receiving side of this exchange. So let's just pause for a moment and think. Have you ever had a bad day? Of course you have. We all have had a bad day. And, maybe at the end of that exhausting day or, whatever it was that happened, you went into the grocery store and you were greeted by someone at the door or in the self-checkout line that just put in a little bit of effort to check on you and say, hey, do you need a bag? Can I take that basket for you? Hello, how are you doing today? Or maybe it was even a child in the checkout line who just was being silly and turned around and smiled at you. And that kind of warmed you up or made you smile back. Whatever it was, there was something or someone with just a little bit of effort kind of turned you around, and maybe it was for 10 seconds or maybe the rest of your evening seemed to get better. Or maybe it was someone who, a friend who sent you a link to a silly cat video. I don't know. But what I'm saying is you could be someone's cat video. You could be someone's difference between a bad day and a good day. And it's just that little bit of effort that's put in. I'm getting all fired up here. So the example that really inspired this broader topic of social avoidance and what can we do different by just putting in a little bit of effort is really the interaction or lack of interaction that takes place on an airplane, my friends. And I'm talking about the flight attendant and everyone else on board when it comes time for the safety announcement. So, I'm going to ask another quiz. When you're traveling on an airplane, and it comes time for that brief safety announcement, the one I'm talking about, where they either put on the video and the human flight attendants stand in the aisle, or if they're actually doing it themselves, what do you do? Do you A, take out your earbuds or whatever, make eye contact with one of them, at least one of them, and pay attention? B, do you kind of passively watch what they're doing while also multitasking, doing other things? Or C, have no idea what I'm talking about because you're already asleep? Okay? So those are your options, A, B, and C. Just really think about that for a moment. I can say that I've been really paying attention to this lately. And lately, I would say like really in the past year and a half, maybe even 2 years actually now, because I was just fascinated by this social avoidance that would happen every single time I was on an airplane traveling. And just watching the response from everyone else on board, but then also watching the response of the flight attendants. Because it seemed like we would do everything to just avoid any sort of eye contact or attention that would be paid on the flight attendant. And I thought it was really interesting. Here are some things that I've witnessed lately, and these are very, very real. So of course, earphones or even, those big headsets now, noise canceling headsets, those go on. But the funny thing is that they weren't on before, but it's like as soon as the pilot says it's time for the safety announcement, that's when they go on. Fascinating. People just carry on full-on conversations at full volume, not even thinking to lower the tone of their voices at all, or the volume of their voices at all, but carrying on full conversations while the flight attendant is actually standing right by their aisle. That was a funny one for me to observe. And then of course, there's just the sleeping people who, start to doze off before the plane takes off, which I know I have also done that myself before. So again, no judging here on That's Life at all, but just kind of talking about some of these things that you start to observe, right? So anyway, I just thought it was really quite comical and made me start thinking more about like how does this feel for a flight attendant? And so I started asking and really exploring this topic, asking around my friends and family members to say, this is what I'm observing, and it's really funny for me. I don't understand why it's almost like we're afraid of the flight attendants, or we have this like silly thing that's going on where it's like, nope, don't look right at them. I don't know, then they're going to see me. And my friends and family members thought it was really funny how I was portraying this picture, but I was like, no, this is a very real situation that's happening. And the responses I got were a little bit mixed. They were like, yeah, I guess I do that too. I don't know why. It's just maybe I have other things going on, and I said, but aren't you interested in what these safety announcements are? Or and then I would start getting more of like the frequent travelers who would say, well, I've just flown so much. I know them. I know the safety announcements. I know what they're going to say. I know what to do. And really, when I started thinking about that, I was like, I'm going to challenge you right there. Challenge you in the most loving way. So can you recite back to me what this safety announcement is? Like, literally, I want to hear from you. What do we do in the event of a water evacuation? Or, where are the life vests? But here's what a couple people had to say.
Okay, so here I go. Okay, so some of the key bullet points is what I'm going to start with, and then we can go further if we need to. So first of all, safety is our primary concern. So please take a few moments to familiarize yourself with the safety features of this X aircraft. First and foremost, your seatbelt, how to fasten your seatbelt, take the metal clip, insert it into the belt clip, whatever. Make sure your seats are upright and tables are put away, and that all materials underneath are pushed underneath the seat in front of you, stowed underneath the seat in front of you. Cell phones must be off at this time unless they're in airplane mode. We also talk about the exits. There are 2 exits, sometimes in front of you, behind you, and then over the wings of the aircraft. Please recognize that the exit nearest to you may be behind you. Also, there is safety lighting that will light up in the aisles to guide you to the nearest exit. Smoking is not allowed on this flight, and tampering with any of the smoke alarms or any of the safety features on this aircraft is against the law. Let's see. The other thing is the oxygen masks. In the event of a pressure loss in the cabin, oxygen masks will drop from the cabinet above you or from above. Please make sure that you secure your mask first before trying to secure those of anyone else. There are also flotation devices on the aircraft in the event of a water landing. That you can find those underneath your seat, and then we demonstrate how to actually put them on. So you put them on, put the clip around, you activate the CO2. You can inflate it by pulling down on these red tabs after you're exiting or as you're exiting the aircraft. They can also be blown up manually through these little tubes. And then there's a little light here that is water activated as an emergency beacon that will turn on automatically once it hits the water. Beyond that, I think that is all of the safety features that I can remember actually at this point.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could take a couple of minutes of your time, if you could please give your attention to the flight attendants for some important safety announcements about this 7X7 plane that you're flying on today. First of all, the flight attendants are here primarily for your safety. So again, if we could have your attention, that would be great. The plane is equipped with 6 emergency exits. 2 in the forward, 2 in the back, and 2 over wing. Your closest exit might be behind you, so please make sure you look behind you. In case of a water landing, your seat can be used as a flotation device. There is a life preserver under your seat that you would be put on when the flight attendant directs you to do that. In case, obviously, of a water landing, the slides would detach or detach and can be used as flotation devices. If the flotation device doesn't fully inflate, there's a tube on your shoulder. The light will activate when you hit the water. I think I hit most of them. Oh, no, I missed a big one. In case of depressurization, 3 oxygen masks will drop from above you. Please take care of the panicky ones first, the adults, by putting your mask on first, then assist your child or next needed party. And don't worry if the bag doesn't inflate, the oxygen will be flowing. In case of turbulence, keep your seatbelt fastened at all times, and there's no smoking on this flight under penalty of death.
I'm impressed. But again, you do travel often, and you obviously are paying attention to the flight attendants when they're delivering that message. So I'm just curious, you have a couple of tactics that you'd like to share with the audience on how you avoid social avoidance, especially when it comes to being on a flight.
It's definitely something that you and I have talked about in the past, is how we get hidden by our devices and we choose to not be present, or we choose to avoid anything, right? It could be the car broken down on the side of the road, or the elderly person who is struggling to walk up a hill. For me, what it really hit home was trying to see the world through my son's eyes when he was a Cub Scout and a young Boy Scout. The Boy Scout motto is to do a good turn daily, and to do that, you have to be present. So you have to stop hiding behind your phone, and you have to say hello to people. You have to acknowledge people. So I really do try when I'm traveling to say hello to flight attendants, to put a smile on my face, even though I don't always enjoy the travel, because if we don't, then we just become bitter old people, and I don't want to be that. So those are my stories.
Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, those are such great examples. I mean, just small little interactions can make someone's day. And I think, especially when we're traveling, I mean, the stress levels are already escalated. Things, go wrong. Flights are delayed. Maybe you don't want to go somewhere, or you're anxious to get somewhere, whatever the case may be. And so I think that just having that level of self-awareness of what you're projecting out to others is really important. And just taking that moment just to say, hello to someone whose job it is to be there and to keep us safe. Okay. Both of them really knew their stuff. They passed my quiz. I was really impressed. Were y'all as impressed as me? But regardless of how much we actually know that announcement by heart, that's really not the point. I kept coming back to this whole idea that that's another person standing up there. And this is just an example in a broader topic about having so many distractions that we shy away from even the smallest opportunities to interact with another human. In this case, the flight attendant. And the way that I look at this is we're having a conversation with them, but we're multitasking on our side, right? So they're telling us, maybe they're pouring their heart out about something to us, really important to them. And we're over here doing everything else but listening to them. And I just was really thinking about that and thinking how much we probably as people would really hate that if we're having lunch with a friend or somebody and we're trying to talk to them and they're any place but where we need them to be, right there in the present. And so anyway, just wanted to share that perspective with you. And so then I was thinking, well, you know what? Maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just a non-issue. Maybe this is really not anything, right? And so I actually asked a couple of the flight attendants because I was interested to hear from them too. how does that make you feel when you get up there, you're showing up for your job, you go through all this training to make sure that we are safe and to deliver this safety announcement to us in a very professional manner. How does that make you feel when you're looking out at the airplane and the folks on the airplane and people are basically tuning you out? And the responses I got were pretty much what I was expecting, and pretty much what you can expect too if you really think about it and dig deep here, is that it doesn't feel good. Let's just sum it up there. It doesn't feel good. What I heard was a very candid response from one flight attendant who said, it's their job, it's their responsibility to ensure the safety of everybody on the airplane before their own. So at a minimum, they would hope that in the event of an emergency, that people would have some small clue as to what to do, right? And so really it does boil down to, just giving that respect and being courteous to another person who's up there talking to you, right? And for me, what I really boil this down to is what seems to be like an underlying theme in every episode here is just empathy. So reverse the roles here. Just like you would to that stranger on the street or that person in the grocery store or, whatever, fill in the blank. Be on the receiving end of your own actions and see how you would want to be treated. So my parting thought that I want to leave you with here is about putting in a little bit of effort, whether that's a smile, a pleasantry, or simply making eye contact to acknowledge another person. And not to be dramatic here, it could save your life or better someone else's. So let's pause and think about that just for a moment. And if nothing else, for goodness sake, please pay attention to your flight attendants on your next flight. Because that's life. So what are you going to do differently?